Today I've come to the North Cemetery in Darlington in County Durham. I'm greeted by a long avenue, and on the left stones going off into a very shady wooded area, and on the right more memorials. There's a very large one here with the 4 columns. Also of William George Younghusband, son, 1862-1896. See if there's anything on the other faces. Well, I've walked the wrong way because that's a blank face. This says Mary Jane Younghusband, died 1905. Around to what must be the main face of it. To the dear memory of William Younghusband, by his beloved wife and sons, 1832 to 1893. And if we move down the memorial, there are other names there. That's an impressive one just inside the entrance to the cemetery. I'm going to walk off the main road we saw going through. There's a number of cars coming up that, I assume from a burial that's been held today. So we'll go off into the quieter areas of the graveyard, passing this one with the peace dove, Sarah, the beloved wife of Watson Layfield, a builder who died in 1865. One tucked right back in there amongst the trees. Nathan Barningham, 1881, aged 58. And then other names again down below. Work my way up to this lane. Now that looks like the Chapel's Arrest behind. We usually find the bigger memorials crowd round the Chapel of Rest. People want their memorial to be seen, to be remembered. Some intricate carving on this one, on the cross. I'm not sure what those round things are. And at the bottom we have Thomas Hayes Jackson, FRCP, 1879. Now across the path, in the shade, a lot more stones in a very atmospheric area. All very accessible though. Some ivy on the ground, but no issues otherwise. Oh, this is great. Let's go through here. This one's got a bit of a kilter on it. On here we can read easily. William Flintoff Easby, 1870, aged 13 months. Then Eliza, the wife of William Easby, a doctor, 1870, aged 26 years. And then Mary, presumably his second wife, aged 65. And then we got another name down there, Annie Easby, 8 months. And then William himself, the doctor presumably, Died in 1885, aged 67. There's an enormous memorial tucked in close to the trees. A lot of detail on it. It's lost one of its right hand side pinnacles, and I can just make out the surname as Lamson, Lamson. As we come up this path, we approach the chapels of rest. As invariably in the Victorian cemeteries, there are two. One for the conformists, the Church of England, and one for the dissenters. That was a collection of other religions, the Methodists, Baptists, Congregationalists, and so forth. They weren't to meet even when they were dead. They were kept separate, both in chapels of rest and in areas of the graveyard. This one caught my eye, although it has some damage. It's a horse with its head turned to the left, and the inscription is interesting. It reads, "Mary Jane, the wife of Frederick Allen, a circus proprietor." 1879, I think. This one has a war grave, second name down. His son, Thomas Reed Swinburne, Flight Sub-Lieutenant, Royal Navy, missing in France. June the 8th, 1917, just 19 years. A very substantial tomb and in very good condition. Along the front here we have various coats of arms, and the inscription around the top tells us he held various positions in the county, Lord Lieutenant and so forth. And this was Sir Robert Henry Allen. His wife is also remembered in here. Around this side also we have more coats of arms. Another very large and substantial tomb, not quite as large as the one we've just seen, and again in excellent condition. Joseph Waldie Pearson, King's Counsellor, and he gives eldest son of Joseph and Margaret Pearson and husband of Ethel Hamet Pearson. Nice to see these tombs in such good condition. This one amongst the trees in the gloom has these big pillars around it. They would normally have had chains fastened to them to protect the area in front of the stone. We go right in, we can just about make out the inscription. Catherine, the beloved daughter of Thomas and Catherine Waldie, who died 1860, aged 19 years. And then beneath that we have other members of the family. Well, I will say that this is a very atmospheric graveyard, with the large memorials, substantial memorials, mixed up with all these trees, hollies, yew trees, lots of shade. It's a real delight. Down there, carrying up through the trees. To my left, and it's been kept clear. It's quite possible to walk out to almost any stone. Very few of them have fallen over, so that's fortunate that the ground is pretty substantial here. And now there's absolutely nobody around in the graveyard. I have the whole place to myself, with just the birds and the squirrels. There's a war grave tucked in here. We'll just move in and have a look. Sergeant H. Robinson, Royal Engineers, 1919. There's a great mass of stones here. But, we'll just look at the end one. That's Elizabeth, the wife of John Lunn of Darlington, 1876. Now they're so close together, I suspect they have been moved and put like that sometime in their history. One here, the inscription is difficult to read, but there's a person, an angel possibly, on top holding a cross. I'll come down here, we get the name as John Croft Renison, 1885. And a lot more names as we pan down. We go back into the shade. It's a very magical graveyard. One there, although it's difficult to get the inscription. Now I see back here that here is the Garden of Remembrance. These are the small memorials for those who wish to remember a departed one, but who are not buried in this graveyard. They would have been almost certainly cremated. So you have a little tablet where you can put a name and a few words and somewhere to leave some flowers. And they stretch right the way around there. Some seats here where you can meditate. And many of these are well attended. And the path goes right the way around. Another war headstone memorial on my left, and one further up on the right. Just remember who this is for. Private W.H. Tate, Royal Defence Corps, 1916. Now, some of these they have had the cross taken off for safety, but it's been propped up very nicely on the stone. That one there's got a bit of a tilt on it with the soft ground. And there's another war grave right beside the path. Private G.S. Walker, Durham Light Infantry, 1916, aged 36. There's a little bit of building work going on just outside the cemetery. You may hear the hammering noise. On my right is a very clearly inscribed one in black. John, the beloved husband of Margaret Henderson, 1941, aged 74. And then Margaret Henderson. There are other names on the sides. Well, I'd be hard put to think of another graveyard as atmospheric as this one. It is just magical. And very well kept. Well done, Darlington. Interesting design over here. Very fancy on the top there with the normal IHS. The memory of a donated mother, Lucy Mary, wife of John G. Campbell, 1922. Now here I notice a number of very small stones, and these are children's graves, early ones. I look at this one. This is 1911, Jane Eyre, 3 or 4 months old. There's another small one there. I'll come round to this one in white. Emma, 1911, 12 years and 6 months. And I'm seeing a little further on the modern area for children's burials. Just have a look at 1 or 2 of these. Always a very touching part of a graveyard. There's a few balloons and toys and models. Rose Jeanette O'Dowd, 2019, beautifully looked after. And then we have these here, attended to. Good little football bits in there. There's a number here which appear to have had their plaques replaced. This is dating from 1918. Margaret Elizabeth, aged 21 years. Aged 32 years. Aged 15 months. And then I see over here a couple more. They don't look particularly recent, these plaques, but they're obviously not original. 1918. And over there I'm seeing 1 or 2 more children's graves. Our baby boy. This one stands out because of the silk flowers. And this is Peter Hutchison. And there's his portrait with his bow tie. And on the left is the compass and square from the Freemasons. Well, I'm reaching the far end of the graveyard. Still a lot of memorials, still well kept. And they're all very readable. We have one over here with a Arabic script. Linda Al-Simi. Linda always loved, Linda dearly missed. And then the path moves to the left. And we have another long drive with memorials both sides. Well, further down that path I found another turning off into this new section. Just one mass of well inscribed stones and flowers. Looking at the dates, is 1999 over there. That's 1999, so this is the front row. Well, there's one for 2004. Now here, these people have taken possession of the area around it and mowed the grass particularly tight. Anthony John Winter, aged 24, devoted daddy to Leon, Mason and Olivia. And then Margaret Adams next door. This is quite a picture, this place, with all of the flowers. Now this one There's that Star Trek, Christopher Kelly, our Chris, age 34. And the one behind, Albert Randolph Teasdale with a racehorse. An area over to one side with very extravagantly decorated memorial stones. The stones themselves are far larger than anything else you'd normally see. And these are normally travellers' graves. They go to great extravagance. If we look at this one, we've got Sidney Harker. And if I move on up to the next one, not quite so decorated. But again, it shows a man with his horses. And I suspect quite a number of these here are from the travelling community. Lovely to see, they always look after them so well. Let me give you a view back a bit. I may be mistaken in some of them, they may be not travellers. Lawrence Bainbridge, look at that one with all the flowers and the mauve ribbon round it still. And those ones down there. A very special area, very carefully looked after. I'm back in the older section of the graveyard and continuing down the same path, and you can just see the memorials. They just go on for a long way. All of them very easy to read, all of them very accessible. A little further in and beside the path, this is another traveller's grave. You can see the extensive flowers on it. George Adams, but you can see in the image there's a traditional gypsy caravan. George Adams died 1991, and yet the grave is still absolutely immaculate with these beautiful silk flowers. I've come to one side of the cemetery, and this is the area for very many of the war graves. Not only in this formal garden, straight ahead is the war memorial, but over this side also you can see quite a number of the CWGC headstones. And in addition to the headstones for those that are buried here, there are two memorials for others who were cremated. There are two mentioned on that one. And this one to one side. Here are recorded the names of 26 members of His Majesty's forces who died in the service of their country, Second World War, and were cremated. Just a couple picked at random. This is Sergeant L.W. Scobie, who was a pilot in the Royal Canadian Air Force. There are a lot of Canadian Air Force members based up here in Bomber Command. There's another one from the Royal Canadian Air Force. Observer in the Royal Air Force. And over at the back here, behind all the rest and standing on its own, but very carefully looked after with the plants, is a member of the German forces, Werner Deutschmann. And he was only 21. Whether he was a prisoner of war or whether he was a pilot shot down, but he ended up dying in the area of Darlington. Now, close to the war memorial is a little marked off garden, and this is one of, I believe, 2 Jewish cemeteries. Just to show you a sample of a couple of the memorial stones. This is Millicent Bilden. This is Jack Bilden. And if we go back a row, we've got Reginald, the husband of Betty Herman, Catherine Mann, saw right the way down. And just a view from the other side of that path. You can see them all with the Star of David at the top of the stone. Well, I had to stop when I saw this surname, because Darlington is the birth of the steam railways 200 years ago with George Stephenson, when he built the first steam railway between Stockton and Darlington. Now, I've no idea whether Jane Stephenson is any relation, but it's such an important name in this town. When I visit cemeteries around the country, I'm never quite sure what to expect. Well, I've come to Darlington and I've been really pleased with what I found. This is a really enjoyable, mysterious and beautiful cemetery. If you get the chance to come up to the northeast of England and to Darlington, do come, do take time out to visit this place. Well, I'm going to draw this video to an end now. There is so much I could show you, but I think that's probably enough now. Till the next time.